Welcome to my latest 2023 NFL preview. Today I'm breaking down the Las Vegas Raiders. Here's how my previews work. I start off with 3 things I like about the Raiders, followed by 3 things I don't like. Then we break down the schedule, and at the end I go over the yearly win total odds and I reveal if I'm going to put action down on the Las Vegas Raiders. Now let's start off with the 3 things I like about the Las Vegas Raiders. First thing I like about the Raiders is their defensive line. Last year the Raiders signed Max Crosby to a 4-year, $94 million deal, and he responded with the best season of his career. A dominant pass rusher who's also a force against the run. When your team only wins 6 games, it's hard to get recognition, but Crosby did go to the Pro Bowl and is turning into one of the best defensive players in the NFL. This year in the draft, the Raiders chose Tyree Wilson, who's looked like a dominant defensive player out of Texas Tech. He gets to learn under future Hall of Famer Chandler Jones, and if Wilson lives up to his potential opposite Max Crosby, the AFC West is in a lot of trouble. I want to be clear, this defensive line and defense is far from the finished product, but you have a superstar in Crosby, a future Hall of Famer in Chandler Jones, and now a super athletic rookie in Tyree Wilson. You're building something special here in Las Vegas. The second thing I like about the Raiders is their offensive skill position talent. Last season, Devontae Adams blew up, had 100 receptions for 1,516 yards and 14 touchdowns, but it was widely overlooked. Hunter Renfrow missed most of 2022, but in 2021 he had 103 receptions in his own right. The Raiders picked up Jacoby Myers and Austin Hooper this offseason and drafted one of my favorite players, Michael Mayer, the tight end out of Notre Dame. This unit had 3,934 receiving yards, which ranked 11th in the NFL last season, and 28 touchdowns, which was 9th, and they got significantly better this offseason. Granted, if the Raiders cannot make it work with Josh Jacobs, this offense might take a step back, but with Jacobs, the Raiders quietly have one of the best offensive skill position groups in all of football. Finally, the third thing I like about the Raiders is the low expectations. Almost everyone has the Raiders finishing last in the division, but they are the only AFC West team not replacing either a head coach or a coordinator this offseason. The Raiders also did finish 3-3 in the tough AFC West and seem more like a team on the rise instead of a team falling. Teams with a chip on their shoulders and talent can do some damage in the NFL, and in my opinion, the Raiders are an underrated team that most people are really overlooking. To recap the 3 things I like about the Raiders, I like their defensive line, I like their offensive skill position talent, and I love the low expectations. Now, before I reveal the 3 things I don't like, make sure you smash that like button. And if this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button. It helps this community and it shows the YouTube algorithm that you want to see more content just like this. Now, 3 things I don't like about the Las Vegas Raiders. The first thing I don't like is that the Raiders are in a very difficult AFC West. Yes, seconds ago I did say the Raiders were 3-3 in the division, but they still finished 3rd behind 2 playoff teams. While I firmly believe that the Raiders are improving, did they improve enough to overtake either the Chiefs or the Chargers? Plus, Denver looks improved in their own right. The AFC West, bottom line, is still one of the toughest divisions in football, and going 3-3 in the division again this year is still going to be very difficult. The second thing I don't like about the Raiders is their back 7. As I am making this video, the Raiders signed free agent corner Marcus Peters, who will help. However, except for your defensive line, your defense is almost entirely brand new. The Raiders are counting on at least 4 new faces in the linebacker unit and secondary, and considering you play in a division with future Hall of Fame quarterback Russell Wilson, Pro Bowl quarterback Justin Herbert, and MVP Patrick Mahomes, it's going to be a challenge for any defense to put up with these 3 quarterbacks, but a defense with this many new faces is especially tough. Finally, the last thing I don't like about the Raiders is Jimmy G's health. While I can make an argument Jimmy G is a better fit for this offense than Derek Carr, I can't argue that Derek Carr didn't come to play every game. Jimmy Garoppolo has been in the NFL 9 seasons and only played a full one time. As I am making this video, he's finally cleared to practice, but do the Raiders really expect him to play all 17 games? They did sign signed Brian Hoyer this offseason and also drafted Aiden O'Connell in the 4th round. But if Jimmy G goes down, most likely the Raiders' playoff hopes will go down also. To recap the 3 things I don't like about the Raiders: number 1, they're in a tough AFC West. Second, I have some questions about their back 7. And third, Jimmy G's health. Now, let's look at the Raiders' schedule. The schedule starts off with 3 out of their first 4 games on the road. And if you're seriously going to make the playoffs, I think the Raiders got to get off to a fast start. I'm really looking at weeks 9 through 12, right before the week 13 bye. And out of those 4 games, 3 are at home. And I really think got to win at least 2 of those games. Now, this is kind of tough because 3 out of those 4 opponents went to the playoffs in 2022. The other team, which is the Jets, well, they added Aaron Rodgers, so that's a really tough task. And out of their first 8 games, 5 are on the road, and I really believe that if the Raiders are seriously going to make to the playoffs, are really going to make it to the playoffs, going into week 9 before that 4-game stretch where you got 3 at home, I think you have to be at least 4-4, and honestly, I don't see 4 wins there. Now, let's look at the yearly win total odds. If you don't understand how to bet on yearly win total odds, check out my tutorial video here. Now, on the screen, you'll see DraftKings on the left and Caesars on the right. Now, DraftKings, you can bet on multiple wins, but the standard is really 6.5. And as you see on the right hand side, Caesars is at 7. Now, if you like the over, definitely go with Caesars at over 7 wins at plus 150. But if you like the under, I would go with DraftKings. Now, if you tell me Jimmy G is going to play for about 15 games or even the whole season, I would take the over. However, I wouldn't bank on that. I firmly believe the Raiders improved from a 6-win team from last year, so I do like the over, but I'm going to pass on taking action on the Raiders. Now, you can check out my entire playlist with all 32 breakdowns here, and tomorrow I preview the Atlanta Falcons, so I will see you tomorrow.